faded, and nothing ever worked out. And I finally sort of said to myself, well, I'm going to stop waiting and do this at least for baseball. And I kind of called up some of the other misfits out there. We're a bit of a misfit ourselves, which for a variety of reasons. And yeah, there was a lot of interest. People wanted to have a little bit of structure. People want to have something to play for. People want rivalries. And, we got it off the ground. And, it's done well so far. There's a good relationship, I think, between the coaches. And I think it's been good. Our guys have, end of the year's awards. I'm talking to a former first team member of the Old Line Baseball, 2009.
All-time leader in losses.
Yeah, you're up there. 5 losses to Riverdale will do that, so something like that. You should be on Coach Terrell's Christmas card list.
Yeah.
But no, and I think it's been really good. It has been perfect, but
I think you struck a pretty good competitive balance.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's. People will point out things that are imperfect about it, and that's what I sort of say, well, it's it might not be the Garden of Eden, but I think it's pretty darn good. So I don't know, I'm happy with where it's at. I was sort of the point guy on getting it started and making the phone calls and the emails and kind of putting it all together. So yeah, it's doing well, and we're happy with it.
I think the rivalry part has actually turned out pretty well. I mean, I can't speak for other schools compared to us, but
it's they want to win those games. So yeah, that's been good. The thing I like about it is I think the rivalries are, for the most part, they're good for the right reasons. I think it's good to have a rivalry where you play people a lot and you know people, but
rather than killing stags and leaving them on doorsteps.
Yes, yeah, no ill will sort of thing. It should be the rivalry, the baseball one.
Mm-hmm. So. The state tournament is something that's was formed by, I believe, Al Batista, and we haven't won that in a little while.
2003, we won it. And we won it in 96 and 2003. It was formed by Al. Al got it going in 94. It's gone through a few incarnations, which I won't bore everybody with on the details. But, Al was... still is, he's a visionary of sorts. He's always a guy who kind of could see the landscape different than how it actually was. And Maryland's difficult in this regard to get things like this organized because it's such a fragmented state. You have across the Bay Bridge, you have the D.C. area, you have the Baltimore area, and the Baltimore schools have their thing, and the D.C. area schools have their thing. And there are a few private schools in Southern Maryland, but nobody does business with them. And then there's,
the Pennsylvania and the West Virginia groups.
Right, yeah. Teams like Maria Goretti and Bishop Walsh, they'll play that are kind of in the western part of the state, especially Bishop Walsh is out in Cumberland, which is way out there. But they'll do business with West Virginia schools and Pennsylvania schools. So it's a very fragmented state, and Al... Al was able to kind of put it together. He was kind of able to bring some of the competing interests together and get this sort of state tournament going. A couple years into it, it's split off into A and B divisions. So there's an A division now, which teams like Riverdale and DeMatha play. And
Good Counsel, I think, is in it. They've won it a couple times.
Yeah, Calvert Hall, and then the B division is for smaller schools. I believe it was, I want to say the mid part of the 2000s, 04, 05. This was, I had left, Al had left, and the state tournament was beginning to sort of was beginning to crumble a little, and Pat Duffy for Avalon kind of kept it together, and kept it going, kind of with the Heights, Avalon, Bishop Walsh, and Goretti being the main teams, and it's added a few teams. So, yeah, it's been very good through the years, and it's always competitive. It's always there are rivalries with that. I'd like to see it add a few more teams. There are a lot of problems with that. May is very difficult for scheduling, and so many people are fixed into dates. Their conference championship is this weekend.
Proms and things like the graduations.
Yeah, the proms this weekend.
APs.
Yeah. Well, the thing I keep telling people is the stinking Maryland State tournament. That's on the schedule every year. It's the other stuff that changes. So the history of the Heights in the tournament is, I'd say it's been somewhat disappointing in some ways. I think there were some years where we could have done better in it, where we could have won it. But 96, the team won it. That was a team, Al coached. My brother played on that team. Coach Fritz played on that team. Also, 2003 won it. That was Steve Brennan shut out Goretti here at the Heights in the final game, and that was a really good team. Chris Brissett was a freshman. Ryan Schultz was good. Robert Gemmel, Tommy Royals Jr. I feel bad if there's anybody out there I'm missing off the top of my head, but that was a really, really good baseball team, and they won it that year, and so yeah, we've won it twice. Would like to add to that.
So we talked about the old line, we talked about the state, but what exactly do you want to happen this spring?
What exactly do I want to happen?
Yeah.
I'd like to, win 30 games, win the old line title and the state title. What would I like to have happen? I think that there are tournaments and championships that we can win. I think that we're capable of doing that. I'd like to secure a couple of those, or I hate to put finite goals on it because
more in the program is not so much the team goals,
right,
but more in the program's goals is what I was referring to.
Oh, so you're talking more long term?
Yeah, and not only the varsity, but the JV, and just like the numbers have grown and.
Yeah, that's very true. Interest, our numbers are very good. And this is actually kind of an odd thing because baseball throughout this area in particular, baseball is somewhat declining. It's declining somewhat in Maryland. There are a number of factors for this. I do think that there is some truth to it is a different generation of kid who. And baseball is a little slow. It's a little bit different, and it is a little bit of it's an instant gratification generation. Now, I don't mean that to say when I was a kid we were all great, but now we're all I don't mean it like that. It's different. Another thing, particularly in this area, is there's just limited field space, and we go through this with our middle school. The field space is very, very limited, and it's also a time thing. Baseball can be 2 hours. It's you can go to a soccer game, it's over in an hour. It's a little different. So baseball is, our numbers though are healthy. In fact, they've grown each of the last few years.
Cross your fingers.
Yeah, and more people play baseball than any sport at the school, which a lot of people don't know. So, we're healthy in that regard. I couldn't even necessarily tell you why. I don't have a good reason for that, but our numbers are very good. Now, with the program growing, I'd like to, I'm always looking to improve. In the last few years, the job has changed a little bit where, it's become somewhat more, I don't want to say administrative.